This time on Ask Reddit, we're talking about skate brand clothing and trends. Let's get started. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video, the channel where you can learn something new about skateboarding 3 times a week. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we take a look at something in the skateboarding world, from tricks to video games to learning about your favorite pros and brands to answering all of your questions on this series, Ask Rad Rat. And I'm excited about this one because this is the first time I've been able to use questions from my website, radratvideo.com. I usually record these in batches, so although the site's been up for a little while, this is the first time I've gotten questions from it. And it's great because when you send a question on the form, it just goes right into my email. I compile it in the list, no problem. So if you got a question for me next time, start thinking of it right now, and you can send it to me through there. But let's get started for today. First question is from Matthew Mitchell, who asks, what is a Grom? The reason I picked this question to talk about is because I remember when I learned what that meant. I was playing Tony Hawk 4, and there's a challenge when you're in like a pool or half pipe or something, and the challenge is to do an air over the grommet or a stall on the grommet or something like that. And I had no idea what that meant. I was thinking like a rivet, like something that, like a pipe or some kind of construction thing. I don't know what it's talking about. So I'm trying to do stuff everywhere in this pool for the challenge. Not working. Then I do the trick over the little kid, and then it worked. And so I had no idea what it meant at the time, looked it up. It's just a kid who skates or surfs. It's from surfing, but a kid who skates, not necessarily who's bad at it or whatever, just like a kid who skates. That's all it means. So that's how I learned that word. But yeah, I thought that'd be at least a little bit of an interesting story. Second is from Christian, who asks, is it okay to wear skate brand clothing like Element, Thrasher, or Vans, even though I don't skateboard? Or is it like wearing a band t-shirt when you don't actually listen to the band? So you'll get some different opinions on this one, but it kind of depends to me. For me, it's not that big of a deal, but if someone walks up to you and they see a skate shirt and then they look down at your shoes and they're not shredded, they might say something to you. But here's the way I think about it. It kind of depends how far you go with it. But there's a couple things. First is the fact that selling t-shirts to other people who don't skate helps bring money into the brand. So let's say you talk about Thrasher. Let's say, well, maybe that's a bad example, like a shoe company or something like that. If you're buying shirts with their logo on it, you're giving them money, which they can use for R&D to design the new shoe. Or a deck company to come up with new styles of deck, figure out how to put different kinds of strengthening plies and that kind of stuff. So if it was all up to skaters, if it was all internal, skate brands sold only to skaters and all the money came back in, then that would make things a little bit more difficult. Your decks would probably be like $70 to pay for all that kind of stuff. But being able to raise money by selling to other people outside of skateboarding is really helpful. So if you think about it from that perspective, it's really not a big deal. Also, if you think about people who are into sports, basketball, football, whatever, they might wear their favorite team shirt and they might not play. You see that all the time and no one really thinks twice about that. So if you're a fan of skateboarding and you wear a skate brand shirt, not a big deal, but I think it gets a little bit weird if you go really far with it. If you always have your DC hat and your whatever shirt and you got skate shoes on and all that, it might start to look like you're trying to be a skater, pretending you're a skater when you're not. And that would be like going to Walmart and seeing a dude in like a jersey and a headband and like basketball shorts and everything, but he doesn't play. That would be really weird. So there is a line there, but I don't think it's that big of a deal personally. Hopefully that helps. The last question is from George Kafiridis, who asks, what do you think about following trends? It seems for a self-proclaimed champion of individuality, skateboarding has persistently stuck on trends. Whether it was hand plants in the 80s, pressure flips in the early 90s, or big handrails and lines consisting of a 360 flip and a handrail grind, I think it's fair to say there was almost never diversity in the style of pros, along with what was practiced in spots and parks, given the odd exceptions that validated the rule. What do you think? So I definitely see where you're coming from with that. It seems like at that time period you're talking about where there's always a 360 flip, I remember so many video parts where they start with a line where the guy's skating and you see him from this angle, kind of from the front slightly. They'll do a 360 flip where you see grip tape the whole way around. Then he lands, and right when he lands, the beat hits, and then that's how the part starts. I've seen that a million times. And if it wasn't the first trick, there was a 360 flip somewhere in there. Had to be. You couldn't not do it. Think about all the different tricks you could do. So it's a line, you're starting on the tail, you want to land back on the tail so it can't do a 180 or a 540. But how many different tricks could you do? You know, impossibles or any kind of anything. So many different things you could do, and it was always a 360 flip. It's because like you had to be able to rank this guy compared to that guy. They have to do the same trick sometimes, so you know who's better or something. You know, it always felt like that, and there always had to be a handrail somewhere. Even if the skater wasn't a handrail skater and he was like the tech guy who was doing manual stuff, he had to do a trick over a rail into a bank or something. There had to be a handrail somewhere, you know. And I've had this happen to me. So I'd go to a skate park and I would be doing the weird stuff how you usually do, like do a primo slide or a Casper flip or pressure flips or a calf wrap or just something that is not that common because that's what I like to do. And I'd have people approach me and or in comments on YouTube or whatever, just accuse me of not being able to 360 flip or tell me like, can you 360 flip, and then try to get me to prove it and stuff like that. Because you have to be able to do normal tricks for it to be okay for you to do other stuff. If I did one, then it'd be like acceptable that I was doing a pressure flip too. It's such a weird thing because who really cares? Why does it matter? How is it affecting your life? Even if I couldn't 360 flip, even if these were the only tricks I've ever done in my life, what does it matter? Why do you have to come into my session that I'm having and try to tell me that I need to do more normal stuff? Super weird, but it would happen all the time. And I think about people like Joe Moore, who'll do like a handstand and wall ride up a wall and then land in a tail stall on a rock or something. And people don't like that. But if he does a fakie inward heel flip manual, fakie 360 flip out, then it's like people are more accepting of the weird stuff because you've proven that you can do normal stuff. And I think it's just something to do with being able to rank somebody. You know, if you see this guy skating versus this guy and they're doing totally different stuff, how do you know who to prefer, you know? It's kind of a weird thing, but I think it's changing a bit because of social media and Instagram and stuff like that. You can get to be a really big name in skateboarding if people just like what they see. You don't have to be accepted by a team and all that kind of stuff. And I think having skate teams was one of the big things that made it a little more average, a little more, you know, consistently the same in a team. So think about like the Zero team or something like that. They would all be kind of similar in the kind of stuff that they skated, but it makes sense. Because what if the team goes to a spot? They need to be able to build off of each other. Or they go to a demo, or they go to whatever. They have to all be into the same kind of stuff. You can't have one super tech guy, one super creative type of guy, one vert guy, you know, completely different team, because where do they all go? What kind of branding does that team have if everyone's so different? So I think that is kind of part of the reason why it came to be that way. But there's really no excuse for people at the skate park judging you for not doing simple tricks. So I don't know. I think you're definitely right, but there's a lot of reasons for that, and hopefully it'll change in the future. So that's it for this time. If you have more questions for me, go to radratvideo.com and fill in the Ask Radrat form. You can also DM me on Instagram or Twitter. There are links to those below. Until next time, here's some more videos you can check out, and make sure you tap my logo on screen right here to subscribe, and that way you can keep learning new things about skateboarding 3 times a week. Thanks for watching.